The book of Isaiah, chapter 54, chapter 51, and verse 54. A sound of cry cometh from Babylon, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans. Because the Lord Yahweh Shema shall spoil Babylon, and destroy out of her the great voice. When her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of their voice is uttered. Because the spoiler is come upon her, even upon Babylon, and her mighty men are taken, military. Every one of their bows is broken weapons. For the Lord God Yahweh Shema shall recompenses, shall surely requite. And I will make drunk her princes, and her wise men, her captains, and her rulers, and her mighty men. And they shall sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake, saith the King, whose name is the Lord Yahweh Shema Shah of hosts. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Shema Shah of hosts. The broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burned with fire, and the people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, they shall be weary. All praises to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect, that seeking to be the elect of the nation of Israel. They're scattered abroad amongst the heathen, some looking like the heathen. We give the 144,000. Preacher, chief, and prophet Shalom. As you see, this is what Yahweh Shema Shai has proposed against Babylon, America. Okay? And what we just read is the destruction of America that's coming. Alright? This is what's coming. This is what's going to happen. America will be destroyed in World War III. The nuclear missiles are shot from the nations back east, America gonna shoot back too. And also, Yahweh Shai and the angels are going to shoot lasers upon America, man, and the citizens, and destroy this place as well. All right, so this is the end game. Now, I want to read verse 57 again, because I want to get this word for drunken. All right, I got a couple of videos. You know, we hit this last week. We brought this out last week through the Spirit and Power Yahweh Shema Shai concerning the USS Abraham Lincoln and the shortages and the families complaining and things of that nature. So let's hold this real quick, because I want to show y'all something. Because the people can see. People can see now. I'm going to play like the first 2 minutes of this video at a certain point, but it's a point I want to hit real quick.
Is falling. What?
So this is 2 days ago, this first post. Title of the video is Trump Ignoring U.S. Troops, Food Shortages, Brawl Right on USS Abraham Lincoln. This is my first post live. This is August 12th, 2026, right? When you read his comments, it says this is something Western media won't report. Facts. It says, if this is not a sign of a collapsing empire, I don't know what is. You see? The people can see, and they're right. Western media is not reporting. Okay? They're not giving all the details. As a matter of fact, Pete Hegseth is downplaying it, man. Alright? It's downplaying it. If you look at the screenshot, it says, or that we put up every video, the save screen, whatever. You see, it says deadly brawl rocks U.S. warship, and you see the chaos they're exalted, and they're fighting against one another, and according to the reports, that's what they're doing up there as well. They said up to 6 or 7 try to take themselves out. The latest one is the individual. The guy jumped overboard, but they rescued him. You know, but hey, the food bag. You know, we put on this stuff last week. Through the spirit and power, how about Shimon Shai? Well, you know it's true because they're sending the George Washington ship over there to replace the Abraham Lincoln ship. You see? We can play the video with them saying that. But you see, when you read verse Jeremiah 51 and 57 again, and it says, I want to read it in the NLT. It says, I will make her officials and wise men drunk. And we're going to get that word for drunk. Along with her captains, officers, and warriors, they will fall asleep and never wake up again, meaning they're all going to die, says the king whose name is the Lord of hosts, the Lord of heaven's armies, Yahweh Shema Shai. Now you get this word drunk, right? Is to be intoxicated, right? To make oneself drunk. Strong's definition, to become tipsy in a qualified sense, to saturate with a stimulating drink, figuratively to influence. All right, so people are drunk; they're becoming influenced due to the situation is influencing them. All right, so when it's talking about them being drunk, it's not saying they're drinking. Now you get a couple of scriptures, right? Psalms 107. It's one of Psalms 107. Ecclesiastes 31, if I'm not mistaken. You get Psalms 107. The water have a small shot. It says, and this is going into the seas, but the point is there. Psalms 107:27. They reel to and fro and stagger like a drunken man and are at their wits' end. So being drunk is the same as not being stable. Okay? Not having understanding. You know, and knowing and understanding that, hey, you at your end. Hey, the scripture says, hey, Proverbs, is it Proverbs 30 to 31? Give a man strong drink. Yep, Proverbs 31:6. The water have a small shot. Give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. So these people, it says, let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more. So these people are drunken. They're in poverty. They're staggering to and fro. They're not in the right element mentally. See, these people gone, man. Let's get to one of Ecclesiastes, I believe it's 31. Yeah, the water have a small shot. Ecclesiastes 31 and 27. It says, let's start 26. The furnace proveth the edge by dipping. So doeth wine the hearts of the proud by drunkenness. Wine is as good as life to a man if it be drunk moderately. What life is then to a man that is without wine, for it was made to make men glad. Verse 28 and 29 points and 30. It says, wine measurably drunk and in season bringeth gladness of the heart and cheerfulness of the mind. But wine drinking with excess maketh bitterness of the mind, and brawling and quarreling. And this is what's going on, man. All right. So when the scripture says in Jeremiah 51 and 57 that they're captains and mighty men, meaning the military, and the leaders are drunken, meaning they're not stable minded, man. They're arguing back and forth. They're bickering. They're fighting each other. It's chaotic. But wine drunken with excess, meaning too much, make a bitterness of the mind with brawling and quarreling. Drunkenness increases the rage of a fool till he be offend. Till he offend. It diminishes strength and make wounds, fights. You see? So this is what's going on. All right. So let's read that Jeremiah 51 and 57 again. Now this is what's happening. Hey, the morale is severely low, man. All right, they've been on. Hey, that's the spirit too, because Yahweh Shema Shah mocking them. They've been out there in the waters for 250 days. Hey, this is the longest that they've been out. You know, and that's the spirit, because hey, Yahweh Shema Shah is mocking Babylon and its administration, because of Babylon been in power for 250 years. You see? This place finished, man. As we read in that comment, if this is not a sign of a fallen empire, I don't know what is. And they're soon to be destroyed. Again, Jeremiah 51 and 57, I will make drunk her princes and her wise men and her captains and her rulers and her mighty men, that's the military, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep, they're going to die, and not wake, saith the king, whose name is the Lord of hosts, Yahweh Shema Shah, you see? And they had to do all this complaining to get, the families had to do all this complaining. The thing is, it has reached, it took a week for mainstream media to bring this out. If I had the articles a week ago, literally 7 days ago, and they just know it's just not hitting mainstream, now everybody's hitting it, it's letting you know that hey, they had to wait for it to hit mainstream for them to do something about it, man. Hey, Ecclesiastes 26 and 28. There be two things that grieve my heart, and the third maketh me angry. And that's about where the Holy Spirit, you know, that Yahweh Shema Shah had me get that article a week ago. Not what my doing. Just to put that out there. I don't take no credit. But Ecclesiastes 26 and 28. There be two things that grieve my heart, and the third maketh me angry. A man of war that suffereth poverty. See, a man of war that suffereth poverty. Them souls to suffer, man. And men of understanding that are not set by. Right. Y'all don't take heed to the prophets. You see? The nation of Israel ain't taking heed to the prophets. 2/3 not. And one that returneth from righteousness to sin, the Lord Yahweh Shema Shah prepares such a one to the sword. And this is what's happening, man. This place is being judged. Including the military. You know why the military is being judged? Because the same military has been used to rape, rob, murder, and conquer all these nations. Most definitely us Israelites. And your armies was used to take out us Native American Indians, man. And it pisses me off when any of the tribes of Israel, y'all know who we are, want to join the military. See, the military, this whole system is set up to be destroyed. All right? All right? So when we bring out these articles, man, I'm going to go ahead and tell it to you straight. I don't give a damn about no subscribers. I only care about the elected Israel. We're going to give it to you straight through the spirit of power, Yahweh Shema Shah. Y'all being judged for the shit that y'all did to the 12 tribes of Israel. Most important. And also for what you've done to the nations, man. Yahweh Shema Shah ain't playing with y'all. I don't feel sorry for him. It's jacked up that Esau is treating his own men like that. Which, hey, we get that all the time in Ecclesiastes 14. And then he not good to himself. To whom shall he be good to? It's messed up he do his own people like that. That's what we tell y'all, man. Hey, they don't care about y'all. The rich, these elite Edomites, they don't give a damn about you lower class, lower level Edomites, man. You see? But this is judgment upon you Edomites, beginning with the elites, then the rest of you Edomites, and Babylon, man. All right? Y'all are being paid back for what you all have done. Hey, Ezekiel 35, you know. And we read the prophecy concerning what's going to happen to you. the whole system, the leaders, and the people in Babylon, man. And 2/3 of Israel that want to be tied on torn. You see? So it's judgment season. It's most definitely judgment season. And we at the end of this thing, man. This place is collapsing, man. I'm going to play the first minute and 45 seconds of that video. Then we'll show the other ones, man. So things, it's just downhill from here. You know?
In the heart of America, hard work never quits. That's why we build our trailers right.
Is falling while basic supply. A massive US aircraft carrier built to project American power could now be turning into a death trap at sea. Explosive claims have emerged about the USS Abraham Lincoln, from allegations of unbearable living conditions to shocking reports of deaths, exhaustion, and chaos. So what really is happening around the USS Abraham Lincoln? A report claimed that 7 US Navy personnel were killed and several others wounded in a violent clash aboard the US aircraft carrier. The tensions reportedly began after a CENTCOM advisor faced angry crew members over complaints about the prolonged deployment. According to the allegation, the confrontation escalated into a violent fight involving knives, leaving 7 personnel reportedly dead and several others wounded. Another report stated that 6 sailors have allegedly tried to jump from the carrier. The most recent case was reported last Monday. The claims have been linked to the extreme conditions the crew is said to be facing. The US Navy has remained silent on the reported incidents, but the families of sailors on board are now speaking out, and their complaints paint a troubling picture. Military families say their loved ones are struggling with poor conditions aboard the Lincoln. They confronted acting US Navy Secretary Hung Kao over what they described as worsening conditions. And the anger did not end there. During a separate virtual meeting later that night, Navy leadership faced more questions from families of the roughly 5,000 sailors and Marines serving aboard the carrier.
So they've been out for 263 days.
Biggest concern is that morale is falling, while United acting US Navy Secretary Hung Kao over what they described as worsening conditions. And the anger did not end there.
There it is. USS Abraham Lincoln deployed for 263 days in the Indian Ocean over Iran blockade claims. Man, that's it. You see, they're only reporting one guy, jumped over, and they said they rescued him. Now, Pete, I got a video. Pete himself downplayed it, right? Which, when you listen to his words carefully, he's pretty much downplaying. Hey, one thing I always like to say, a half truth is a whole lot, man. And if you think these families, these people, the families of these servicemen, these veterans are not going to rise up against the U.S., you sadly mistaken. You don't treat no man in war like that, as we just read. A man in war in poverty. Man, them individuals, them men and women in poverty, man, fighting for your country. You ain't feeding them shit. That mess you feeding them, man. Hey, that mess ain't. It's not enough nutrients in that food for a damn a toddler, man. Inhumane conditions, moldy showers. And these people, they got every right to fight up and rise up against the system, man. Look, hey, and it's gonna happen. You see, hey, more power to them. We for prophecy, man. We for prophecy. So yeah, it's gonna happen, and we can't wait for it to happen. All right, because at the end of the day, this kingdom is divided, man. See, it's all prophecy. A kingdom divided shall not stand, but shall fall. It says, Matthew 12 and 25, and Yahushua knew their thoughts, and said unto them, Yahushua speaking, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. You see? And if Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? You see? It can't. 2 Esdras 15 and 15. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and the one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall, which is the modern day gun, and different weaponry. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard the kings nor princes, nor the course of action shall stand in their power. You see? So this is what it's going to lead to, man. Everything that people going through, everybody stressed out, food, economy bad, the leaders, the higher-ups, beginning with the president, are lying to the citizens. Then on top of that, these servicemen are out there doing your dirty work. Don't know what's going on. They're just taking orders. You treat them like crap. You think their family members not going to rise? Hey, and you talking about, and you wonder why the morale is down? Hold, wait a minute. If the morale down, how in the hell is your recruiting numbers at an all-time high, Trump? You lying. You think these people ain't going to run? All right. And they're going to tear this joint to pieces, too. You're going to have to send out these troops, the IDF troops. Because that's all ICE is. Sprinkling in with the other nations. That's all they are. And like Elder Pastor Hart said years ago, the elder said years ago, and it made perfect sense then, and it makes sense now still. If you think these military troops are going to be shooting down and killing their own citizens, you lost your damn mind. It only makes sense that these ICE troops and these individuals that work for them are IDF. Alright? Y'all linked up together. They train with them. They're going to be the one. Look what they're doing to U.S. citizens now. They don't give a damn. These are not U.S. citizens that's in them uniforms, man. They might be citizens, but they IDF trained and they with them. That's really where they from. Because a mighty man of Babylon, a serviceman of Babylon, is not going to attack their own citizens, man. They don't do that. They didn't take that oath, man. Well, it said domestic and foreign. Well, this domestic, this domestic is caused by you. This domestic violence, this home violence is caused by you. So when it said, when they took the oath swore the oath to defend the Constitution, domestic or foreign, they're talking about against foreign entities that's here in the land. They're not talking about their own citizens that's fighting for what's right. You see? So that's why they got these IDF troops, man. As ICE members. And that's Trump's Secret Servicemen. Man, it's going to turn up out here, man. Let's read that again. 2 Esdras 15 and 16. But there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard the kings or princes, and of course they actually stand in their power. And man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able. Then come that control. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the house shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. And people can stand up for what they believe in, man. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy the house with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread for great tribulation. And things are going to just spiral out of hand because you already got race war, gender wars, class wars, all this division, ideology wars, political wars. Everybody's going to be out here getting it on. But hey, what's really going to kick it off, I believe, what's going to start it, I believe it's going to be very soon, man. I believe it's going to be around midterms. It may not be, but that's just what I believe. But I believe what's really going to get it started, of course, as we read in the 19th verse, people are lacking and struggling. But I believe what's really going to get it started is the families of the service members, man, and the veterans. Yeah, they ain't, they ain't with that, man. You see? They ain't with all that. Because they see you don't give a damn about them. Now let's play this right quick. Hey, look, check this out. This phone about to turn off. So
there is new reporting that...
You know, I could just play this. It says U.S. loses 25% of its Reaper drones in Iran war, exposing weapons crisis. They not losing. Iran is shooting down. They're being destroyed. All right? Straight up. Matter of fact, I'm going to just play this video. I don't need to play. Yeah, I want to play both of them, though. Let's play this.
Back to one of our top stories and growing concern.
Retired Marine Colonel on reports of food shortage, broken plumbing aboard USS Lincoln. He's going to go into how it affects the mental man, you know. So let's play it.
Back to one of our top stories and growing concerns over the conditions on board the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. It has been at sea since November 21st, 2025. About 5,000 crew members are on board the carrier, which is currently involved in the Iran war operation known as Epic Fury. It has not come ashore in more than 200 days. And some military families are speaking out, saying their loved ones are facing widespread food and supply shortages and plumbing issues. At least 2 Democratic senators, Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut and Ruben Gallego of Arizona, are demanding answers from the Defense Department. Officials tell CBS News a sailor went overboard from the Lincoln earlier this month. That person was quickly rescued, and it's unclear the circumstances of why and how the sailor went overboard, and investigations underway. But some family members have reported severe mental health issues and multiple attempted suicides on the vessel. The Navy released a statement saying, quote, based on the information available to the command, we have not identified an increase in reported suicidal ideation or suicide attempts aboard the ship.
Of course not.
Let's begin retired Marine Colonel Mark Cancian. He's a senior advisor at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. So 250 days, a record. In your experience, how long is too long?
Well, 250 days is a long time. The problem for Lincoln is multiplied by a couple of factors. One is that they haven't been at port for a long time, and port visits are one of the ways you break up long deployments. Another is that the logistics system in the Middle East has been disrupted. Usually, ships will be supplied from the Persian Gulf, particularly from Bahrain, where the United States has a logistics center. That's not possible now, so the maintenance and some of the logistics have likely become a bit sporadic. That's probably why you're hearing complaints about some maintenance issues. And the other one is boredom. You know, that is, for a period of time they were conducting operations that keeps everybody busy. They have a purpose, but for the last couple of weeks they've been really just sailing in circles. And that is very hard on the troops because they're in this steel city. They can't go anywhere, and they really need activity.
So the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, told Newsmax the situation on board the Lincoln is being completely misrepresented. Does that then diminish what some of the family members are saying?
I think the Navy took a much better approach here. The acting Secretary of the Navy and several senior admirals went and met with the families to show their concern. They listened to the complaints, and they apparently acted, because we now hear reports that the George Washington is headed to the Middle East to replace the Lincoln.
Which means the reports are true. You see? And it has gotten out to the people, and the people are outraged. It means that it's true. Now, this next video we're going to play, Pete Hegseth is going to downplay it.
So knowing that there is at least relief on the way, that's still weeks for the George Washington to get there, right? And then weeks for the Lincoln to come home. So if somebody is already sort of battling these thoughts and feelings, I mean, that's still several more weeks, which can be a really long time if you're battling these thoughts and feelings.
Well, it can be, but having an end date helps tremendously. This is not an open-ended commitment, but that on a certain day they will be back home. I say that helps a lot. And also the ship will be moving. and that helps a lot too. I mean, they get the feeling that they're going someplace. In this case, they'll be going home.
I mean, Ellie, earlier in our show had said that there's only, I think 10 vessels like this. Is that your understanding in the Navy as well? And that is why this deployment, one reason why it's been so elongated?
So just so you understand, they're not coming back home. They're sending them another ship to George Washington. So as we keep telling y'all through the Spinning Fire Yahweh Shema Shah, this war is not ending, man. It's all they done spent too much money, got too much personnel and money and weapons and lives invested for them to pull back. It ain't no pulling back. All right?
It is. There are 10 of the large fleet carriers, and they're in tremendous demand. They're needed for a wide variety of operations. They're needed for in the Atlantic, and they need the Pacific. So they tend to stay out a long time. The Ford, which was in the Middle East and the Venezuela operation, was out for 11 months. It shows that the Navy needs to get bigger. Everyone agrees on that, but it takes a tremendous amount of time to build the ship.
Colonel Mark Hansen, we always appreciate your time and expertise. Thank you.
This play's finished, man. Let's play the next one. Hopefully we can get the whole 11 in, man. I pray so.
Listen, I just wanted to make you a delicious sandwich. We're getting business done. We're getting sandwiches done.
I wanted to make you one as well, so I'm going.
There is new reporting this morning on...
Again, it reads, U.S. loses 25% of its Reaper drones in Iran war, exposing weapons crisis. So this weapons crisis, hey, man, it's just over for America, man. Iran lighting them up, man. All right? They've been exposed. Babylon's been exposed. All right? So I'm going to just let this ride, and this is how Pete Hegseth downplays what's going on. And you know it's true because it's in the George Washington out there to swap with the Lincoln. You see?
There is new reporting this morning on the depletion of United States weapons stockpiles amid the Iran war. The Washington Post cites 3 officials familiar with the matter who say the U.S. military has lost roughly 25% of its Reaper drones. The aircraft, which are used to conduct surveillance and targeted strikes, have seen heavy use around the Strait of Hormuz, but are seen as easy targets for Iran's military and its regional proxies. The Reaper can cost between $30 and $50 million, with the potential taxpayer cost of recent losses coming in at over $1.3 billion for that weapon system alone. The aircraft is just one in a long list of U.S. weapons and munitions drained by the war. Meanwhile, the Trump administration continues to emphasize economic pressure on Iran. Here's what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told Newsmax last night.
Watch this space for more announcements coming next week, because we are going to apply measures like have never been seen in the history of economic isolation on a country. It will be a combination of economic isolation like the world has never seen before, and the continued blockade in the Strait of Hormuz that will keep anything from going in or out of the Iranian ports.
MS Now spoke exclusively with the wife of a sailor who jumped off the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier last week. It comes amid a record-setting deployment for the carrier in the Middle East amid the Iran war. The Lincoln left its home port of San Diego on November 21st. The ship has only stopped twice, once in Guam in December, and then on July 7th when it briefly pulled into Oman, keeping the crew at sea for more than 200 continuous days. The wife said she was not contacted by Navy officials about the incident until 4 days after her husband jumped off the ship on August 3rd. She learned about what she described as a suicide attempt after one of her husband's friends on the ship messaged her that someone from his squadron went overboard, she said. Later, that friend told her it was her husband, according to messages reviewed by MS Now. The wife said she had not been able to stay in regular communication with her husband, who is a 19-year-old aircraft mechanic on his first deployment, because the internet signal on the ship was unstable and inconsistent. She said when they did talk, he expressed that he was homesick and exhausted. She shared the last text exchanges she had with her husband on July 21st. In them, he writes, "I think the boat is finally getting to me." He went on to write, "I'm really trying to not feel negative or hopeless, but between the Wi-Fi and not knowing when I will come home and not knowing what is happening back at home, it's really getting me. I don't think I can do another deployment after this, and I don't even know if I can finish this deployment." Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth yesterday denied reports of mental health issues for crew members.
Completely misrepresented. Listen, we make sure that every ship, every crew, every captain has everything we can provide them at every single moment. Some deployments are longer than others, and I have more respect and gratitude for those sailors than anybody. What they do in those high seas and those austere conditions with less port calls, it's incredible. I mean, Americans don't understand what it's like to do that. So as someone who's not been on a ship like that, but been on long deployments, I feel it. I want them home as soon as everybody else do. I want folks rotated as quickly as possible. I want the best for them. My commanders know that. Our service secretaries know that. The president expects that. And so to that crew and to all those crews, we're going to do everything we can for you. And we are so grateful.
Shut your ass up. Hey, you heard what he said at the beginning? He said, we are providing them with everything that we can. In so many words. So another, the reports are true. The reports are true.
The Wall Street Journal
That's why they're sending to George Washington.
has new reporting that the U.S. military is preparing to replace the USS Abraham Lincoln with the USS George Washington, which has been operating in the South China Sea. But the officials the paper spoke to did not give a timeline for when it could happen. Joining us now, senior reporter for HuffPost, Arthur Delaney. Arthur, thanks for being here with us this morning. So whether it's Hegseth just flat out denying reports that there's any kind of mental health issue on the USS Lincoln, or the administration, essentially denying that weapons are depleted, how do we get to this point?
I think both the depletion of the missiles and the drones that you just discussed, as well as the stress on the sailors on the Lincoln, reflect the fact that this war has gone on longer than anticipated. Remember when it started in February, March, the president said, this will take about 6 weeks. Here we are 6 months later with no clear strategy to get out of it. And now we're saying, well, we won't use missiles, we'll pivot to economic sanctions. I think you can look at all three of these things as resulting from the same fact, which is that the war is going on longer than expected, and they're not sure how to get out of it.
Do you think that this new strategy of trying to, as Bessent says, have the strongest economic sanctions possible, mixed with their ongoing strategy, is going to actually work, that any of this is working?
So we've actually been doing the sanctions for quite some time, and that's exactly what Donald Trump himself said did not work. That's the reason. He said we're going to go to war. And, the blockade is a new element of it, but it's only in response to Iran disallowing shipping out of the Strait of Hormuz, which is a huge political problem. And I think this reflects the reality that they just don't have the ability to sustain this war without depleting missiles, which is a potential risk for the military in the U.S. and other military scenarios. And so it's just not really working out that well. I think that's the picture we're getting from these different pieces of news.
And how are lawmakers feeling? I know that they're gone right now in recess, but obviously Republicans aren't happy that this war is still going on.
Republicans do not like this war at all. Some of them were big cheerleaders for going in, but as soon as they saw how the Trump administration might try to get out of it, they were pretty disappointed. That's people like Tom Cotton, Roger Wicker on the Armed Services Committee. And the news we're getting about the stress on the carriers is partly from Democratic lawmakers who are in touch with their constituents and are raising these concerns to Secretary Hegseth. So it's another aspect of the political pressure that the Trump administration is creating by getting into this prolonged war with no end in sight that is really unpopular and of course, especially causing economic problems with higher gas prices.
Yeah, you have to wonder if any of these lawmakers are going to be hearing more about constituent frustrations with the war while they're home right now, especially as these reports are coming out about the stress on our service members. But Arthur, I also want to ask, and talk to you about this next story. The Trump-appointed board of the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts voted yesterday to inscribe President Trump's name on the venue and close the main building for 2 years for renovations. That's according to a statement from Democratic Congresswoman Joyce Beatty of Ohio and her lawyers. Beatty filed the original lawsuit seeking to remove Trump's name from the building and block the closure for renovations. The news comes 2 months after Trump's name was taken off the facade, following a federal judge's ruling that the center's name, which was approved by Congress, cannot be changed. Spokespeople for the Kennedy Center did not immediately respond to MS Now's questions. A White House spokesperson provided MS Now with a statement, reading, quote, "Under President Trump's bold leadership, the Kennedy Center is on its way to becoming the finest cultural institution anywhere in the world." A source familiar with the meeting tells MS Now the proposed inscription was not included in the agenda the members were provided 2 days before yesterday's meeting. And at least one board member said she was not given advance notice that it would be brought up. Arthur, I think, we can be forgiven for feeling like we're going a little bit crazy because this all happened before. And the president, just like he is in other areas, whether it's birthright citizenship, whether it's his attempts to fire the Fed Chair Governor Lisa Cook, that when the courts tell him no, he says, no, I'm going to do it again in another way.
This one is just really embarrassing. It's a lot like the reflecting pool where he's tried to make a change on a DC landmark, kind of mess it up and says, it's now closed. Remember, the reason that they wanted to close this originally was that all the artists canceled and people weren't buying tickets because he was putting his name on the building. And so the judge said, you can't do that. And they said, fine. They took his name down, and now they're going to put it on, but as a second part of the building's name. And they're still going to close it for 2 years, which I think is still a result of artists not wanting to participate. I mean, there are renovations needed. Even the people who work there will admit that. But this is basically a story about Donald Trump messing something up and, again, not really knowing how to fix the problem.
Do you think that there's going to be legal challenges here again?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, this flies, or it appears to fly in the face of the court order in the first place.
Exactly.
And we'll have to see how the judge reacts. They're not doing exactly what they did before, but he said you can't just stick your name on there. This was called the John F. Kennedy Performing Arts Center in a law. It's not just the name they made up. It's by statute that it's called that. And the judge also said, you can't just close this for 2 years. This appears to be a preordained directive from the president and not something that the board actually wanted to do. And the reporting that the board wasn't familiar with the plans to put the name on the building once again, I think will be probably a problem for the Trump administration in court.
Yeah, both fronts, whether it's adding the name to the side or closing it again, saying that they're going to close it again seems to totally go against what the judge said, what the judge ruled. But senior reporter for HuffPost and my former colleague, Arthur Delaney, thank you.
So you see, this place over with, man. Stay pretty for the names of Hot Bush Jamal. Shasha.